All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Q3 Shop Owner Roundtable. This is where we talk about the real challenges and wins of running a heavy-duty repair shop, and we've got a great session for you here today. As usual, our standard disclaimer that this is experience-based advice, so it may not be one size fits all. It may not work for your shop, but we think some of the experiences and ideas that we're going to talk about here for the next hour or so will be really useful as you think about growing and managing your shop in the areas that you're working in every single day. I'm John Widitz. I am Fullbay's Chief Customer Officer. With me here today is Peter Cooper of Ascend Consulting. Welcome back, Peter.
Thanks for having me in.
Great to be here. And then we are really excited to have a great set of topics, a great series of guests with us today. I think Joe's story, I'll introduce Joe here in a second, is really fascinating. Lots of insights on penetrating new niches, branding and marketing a business, staff turnover, investing in tools and technologies. So these are just some of the topics that we're going to cover over the next hour or so. But Joe has an absolutely fascinating story. Grew up in Tasmania, one of 13 kids, immigrated to the U.S. and now runs Klein Auto and Klein Mobile Repair out in Michigan. So Joe, welcome to the show. Yeah, love a little intro on you and how you got here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, so I immigrated here in 2001 with my family. Worked for another company for a bit over 5 years and then started my own place in 2007. So, it was kind of I don't know if you want me to get into that part of it now or.
Well, and then Josh Miller, you're the general manager. You've been around Klein for 14 years, is that right? 13 years. Yep. And came up through the ranks. Started on the technician side, service manager for a little while, and then stepped into the GM role in the last year or two?
Yeah, it's been over a year now. Yep.
Excellent. Well, welcome. Joe, tell us a little bit more on your background, kind of how you came up. You've got some really interesting background on your apprenticeship with Caterpillar, some of the mining work you did, and then opening your shop for the first time.
Yep. Yeah, so I did apprenticeship with Cat in Australia. It was mostly mining equipment we did. Worked underground mines, did all that. Moved here with my parents in 2001. We emigrated, we had family. A couple of brothers and sisters were already living here. So moved here for the grandkids and stuff, and I was still living at home, so I moved here with them. Worked for another company that did mobile service for about 5 years. Actually, really enjoyed working there. I broke my ankle, so I was off work for 6 weeks. And then while I was off, I just decided, I'd always had a dream to start my own place, and the timing just worked out. While I was off, I had time to get the LLC set up and buy a truck and started my own place at a barn by my house. And
like you say, literally out of a barn.
Yep. And then, from there it just grew. I outgrew the barn in a couple of years, rented another shop. I think we were there for, it was about 5 years. And then we built a shop and then kind of just kept growing from there.
Mm-hmm. So. And then Josh, I think really a family business. I think your brother joined the company before you did.
Yeah, he was there about, 8 months before I was. And then I joined the team over there. And then after that, I really liked Joe. I liked his style, liked how he ran things, and decided to become a technician for him. And then later on became a service manager for him, and now general manager.
So when was the point at which you started talking about the GM role? Not a lot of shops have a GM. What does that mean? What does that look like?
So it was about a year ago. I think it was September. Joe wore too many hats, right? And you could see that. And we were seeing some issues because we grew so big, right? We didn't have a lot of structure in place. I ran the auto shop for about 10 years, I think it was. And then we had a good system going over in auto. And then I came over to Joe and started helping him out and put some structure in place. And it's been a lot of fun in the past year.
Yeah, it was kind of it wasn't like he went right from service manager in auto to general manager. It was like, hey, I need some help over here. He had the auto division running pretty smoothly. Mm-hmm. We were dealing with some issues in the heavy truck shop. So he kind of came over, was just going to be temporary at first to help out, and then I'm like, no, this is
not temporary.
This is working. I've taken some of stress off of me, and I just didn't have enough time to keep up with things. So.
Was there a catalyzing moment for you when you realized, oh my gosh, I'm drowning in paperwork, there's too much going on, I got to manage the techs, or it's more of a slow avalanche of things building up?
Yeah, it was more of a slow avalanche of things building up. When it was a couple, I'd kind of had a general manager before that, and then with some issues a couple of years, so I'm like, hey, I think each division can kind of run itself and just report to me, and I couldn't spend enough time interacting with the individual service riders at the different shops, and things kind of got a little out of hand over that time period.
So what changed for you that you finally made that jump to say, hey, I need a general manager? Like, what was the key moment that you said, no, we have to do it this way?
Just not being able to keep up with what was going on, making decisions, and being tied to the shop. Like, if I want to take a vacation, I needed someone else there that could make those decisions, depending on which shop it was even. So,
'cause I think that's a struggle that a lot of shop owners have, is they really struggle with, when is it time? When is it time to hire staff? When is it time to, roll out the next iteration of a business? And how did that change for you, going from a technician to a manager? Like, what changed in yourself? What changes did you have to make that jump?
Well, it wasn't something I was going after, right? I actually got hurt back in 2015. I had a shoulder surgery. And then when I came back, Joe was like, I need a service writer, right? So I actually went into a service writer position first. My brother was running the heavy duty shop, and they wanted to split auto off. And when we did that, I kind of just started from scratch, right? So I had to come up with my own systems, my own procedures, and pretty much my own policies at that point, right? And then after that, we grew even more, right? And we ended up getting our own building in auto, so that was pretty big for us. And then we got another service writer, so then we'd add a service manager, and then just kind of took off from there. So kind of built it from scratch. It was fun.
And Joe, at this point, I think you've got 3 shops, 38 employees, something like that.
38 employees now. Yep.
So it's a pretty significant operation. You've got, and then you've got the mobile repair business that was really the core.
Yep.
You spun out the auto business as well, and really that branding aspect of it. Make sure people know what you're doing every single day. When did you split out the auto business?
2015-ish.
Yeah.
Right. So when I started the business, I was probably doing 60% auto, just because it was easy to go out and get fleet customers when you're a one-man shop. It was kind of hard. But as we grew, once I got a brick and mortar versus my barn, the truck side took off a lot more. Started getting some small fleets and was a little bit more legit. But what I found over the years, I had fleet customers that didn't even know we did autos. I mean, they'd bring vehicles in, and vice versa. We'd have auto customers that they came there for that. So then we kind of rebranded the auto in the same building initially, but so that way, hey, some of the truck drivers and stuff get their automotive
it
work
says
too.
auto on the door. There's something going on here. Yes.
That was kind of, so then when we got their own building, then we rebranded that as Klein Auto, just so people knew that it wasn't just truck repair anymore. So.
And then what I found was really interesting about your expansion is getting into the fire business, starting to service trucks and apparatus for a couple local departments. How did that come about?
So that kind of came, we were doing just the local department by us. I'm trying to think how that started. I knew the fire inspector. We did a fundraiser for one of the guys in the fire department there. So we were just doing theirs, and then they wanted us to start doing their pump testing. And it probably took, from when they first asked me to do it, it was probably 2 years before I finally bit the bullet and spent the money on the equipment. But what really helped with that was his brother Jason, and then my lead road tech at the time were both volunteer firefighters. So they were kind of pushing me to do it a bit too, service the fire department industry better. And that, once I got the pump test trailer, then we actually went after other departments and kind of grew that. And it really helped having the mechanics I had there and the guy running it were firefighters, so they understood the industry. So.
Well, and I think there's 2 threads to that I suspect are equally important. And so one is being able to talk the talk a little bit, having firefighters in network, having firefighters on staff, we can speak their language. And then you mentioned getting to the point where you said, all right, we've got to make a big investment here, right? They're really asking me to do that tank testing. I need to invest a not insignificant amount of money to be able to do that service. How did you look at making that investment and really maybe taking the plunge into that business really head first at that point?
Really just jumped in head first. I mean, I'm not like, it's not like I sat and ran the numbers and said, oh, this is going to be my payback on it. It was just like,
seems like a good idea.
It seemed like a good idea. I kind of just took the leap of faith on it. And it's worked out. So,
and I think that, you know, as you said, the employees that we have an amazing team, right? They really help guide us in a lot of directions, right? So that was really important.
And you guys have seemed like you don't shy away from working on some of the hard stuff. And we were talking last night at dinner about garbage trucks. Would you advise a small, you know, shop or a small person that's trying out on their own, would you advise them to go after the weird stuff like that? I mean, was that key to you guys being able to grow as fast as you did?
Yeah, I think so. If you have the skill set for it, definitely go after the stuff that nobody else will touch. I mean, we used to do even like pallet lines inside on-site repair. We used to do forklifts. It was anything mechanical. We would do maintenance or repair on it. So
it seems like that's where I talked to a lot of shop owners, and they all want to go after the big fish. You know, they want to go after those massive fleets. And I tell them sometimes, you know, the niches are in the riches. Or, you know, when you follow that niche, you're able to really maximize the crumbs that other people won't go after.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we kind of have a motto: one-stop shop. We'll fix anything, right? Sometimes it gets us into problems, but we'll work on boats, lawnmowers, whatever. I mean, we don't do a lot of it, but we've always had the "we'll fix anything" motto, and yeah, it's kind of helped grow. That's how we've kind of grown. We're not just doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you balance that, though? If you're saying you work on all different things, when it comes to software and working on that, I mean, what are you using are you using a generic software? Are you only using OEMs? How do you handle that from a diagnostic standpoint?
We have both. When I started, when it was just me, I was trying to do it with generic software. Found that didn't work, so I just started investing in laptops with all the OE softwares. I think we pretty much have them all. On the truck side, and then even in the automotive side, we have the OE softwares for the big three. Mm-hmm. I've just found that be able to do everything, you have to invest in the software and the equipment.
How is your payback on that? I mean, what's your philosophy for trying to get a return or at least cover your cost on? I mean, because software's gotten really expensive. I think it was just recently Ford, you know, they're going to change the pricing on their software to be able to log in and do it. How are you recouping that cost?
He probably talk more to that. But
Yeah, so, you know, along with the software too, because, you know, you got to get educated on it, right? So you got to train everybody on it. We had some really good techs, and plus we got Joe, right? Joe is probably one of the best techs I've ever met. There's not a thing this guy can't fix, literally cannot fix, and he does it quick. But going back to your question, we do charge for, you know, any updates to ECMs or TCMs like that, so we try to recoup that way, because we still have to pay for some of those updates as well. So, and it kind of comes with the cost, right? I mean, we gotta charge for that in a way. Mm-hmm. So through labor rates and through programming.
I mean, do you find that customers understand that, though, when you have to explain to them, hey, we have a fee. If we have to do this thing, we have to charge for it.
Absolutely not, because they, you know, this industry is terrible for it, right? I mean, we're really misunderstood. Everybody thinks that they can do it yourself. They can figure out the problem within 5 seconds, but we got to prove it, right? And it takes that software to do it. That's a big challenge.
I think that's a valuable comment. I think a lot of shop owners need to do a better job of educating their customers of what it's going to take to fix a truck. In other words, explaining the entire process, because I think that a lot of customers don't appreciate how complicated it is to fix a modern truck. I mean, I know there's some decent videos on the internet now where people are explaining, hey, you know, we have to do all this and test all these things. And it's good in the automotive, but heavy duty, it still seems like a lot of these people misunderstand how complex these systems are. And I think that's a really good idea, is to spend time explaining to your customers, this is what is going to be involved to figure this out.
And that's something that we preach daily to everybody, our service writers, and to our techs, that we got to put in our stories the value, why we got to charge this much, right? We had to run all these tests. We'll put it on paper so they can see it, see what they're paying for. So that's always a challenge too.
Yeah, educating the customers is a big thing. Like, not just, hey, this is your bill, but no, this is why. So they understand it.
Right.
Have an open relationship with them, and yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things I always teach technicians too, is they all, well, I'm not I don't want to have to write all this stuff up. I don't do paperwork. And I get them to understand this is how you justify your paycheck, because we have to take this information and take it back to the customer and explain to them this is what it took to fix your vehicle.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, and then there's an opportunistic side to that as well. And you were sharing that at this point, the fact that you have OEM software and tools in-house has almost become a lead source. You're getting a dealer sending business your way, even competitors sending business your way where they don't have the right tooling to be able to do a repair. Have you found that to be the case and really driving a large amount of incremental business?
So we have a lot of shops in our area that they'll send their customers over to us because they either don't have the software to diagnose it or do the programming on it, or even doing alignments, right? So we have a lot of shops sourcing us out. So that's kind of nice. Yeah, and sometimes they end up staying as our customers, right? We don't try to snipe them or anything like that, but they end up because customer service, right? I mean, it's all part of it.
Yeah, I think that's something that's getting lost a little bit in the mix, or at least I've seen it in the industry, is with the age of AI that we're in now. Everybody, that's the big buzz, is talking about AI and how it's going to help do all these things. And I think some people really need to remember the basics, that taking care of the customer. You're still dealing with the human element. Even with all this technology we have, we still have to deal with customers. And having empathy for the customer sometimes is hard, because you get technicians that don't understand. And you have to, I've had to explain to a lot of guys, I'm like, look, this person's not having a good day. When that person broke down and they had to get towed to this shop, it is not their best day.
No, and that's building that relationship. We have customers who'll stop by even when they're not broke, just for coffee or whatever. It's nice to see them when they're on a good day, when they're not broke.
That's awesome.
So,
Well, and so we've talked about a couple areas where you've entered new businesses. Let's try it out. Let's see if it works. It's not about necessarily calculating out a payback period or anything like that, but let's see if it starts bearing fruit. Do you have a counterexample of something that maybe didn't work out so well?
not really.
There you go.
I haven't really got into anything that I
Said, bad idea. Let's back right out of that door. Yeah.
No, I mean, I could say, like, I did get into ADAS calibrations. I bought the equipment, but I'd never had the right guy for it for about a year. So I kind of just sat there. But now I hired a guy for that. That's all he's concentrating on, and that's really picking up now too. But so I had bought the equipment hoping to be ahead of the curve of other shops, but I didn't get the people in place. But
So that's a good point. How do you deal with that? Like, what is your philosophy, or how do you source training for your guys and on advanced systems like that, or OEM training? How do you get access to that? What are you doing?
kind of whatever we can find. We're tied in with an automotive training network. We get a lot of online classes. If there's, like, I got 5 guys this week in Lansing doing training for EVT stuff, so fire trucks and ambulances. So any training we can find, send my guys to it.
So you're investing a sizable amount of resources. I mean, not just money that it takes to pay the person to go, but also lost revenue.
Yep.
Have you seen that doing that, does it have any positive effects on retention?
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, I have, not everyone that I've trained has stayed, but yeah, we invest in them, we look after them, and
Because I think that's a big topic that a lot of people don't talk about in this industry. Is every time you talk to a shop owner, everyone says, I can't hire good techs, I can't hire good techs. I never have anybody talk about retention. Do you do anything in your organization to specifically, intentionally to try to retain? I mean, do you have any examples of that?
Absolutely. So we came up with a program. Our techs, it's kind of split into two different teams. So each tech gets every other Friday off, right? They really like that. They get to spend more time with their families, which is important. And yeah, We don't work Saturdays.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Friday off thing was huge. I mean, the guys love it. They get every other Friday off with their family, and we're still open. We just have half crew each Friday on Fridays, and that's worked out really well.
You just alternate week on week.
Yep.
And Joe also does a lot for the team. He'll take them out on the boats, take them down to some restaurants. We'll fly down Lake Michigan and go to a restaurant one night. He cooks out for them, does stuff like that. It's no wonder he won at last Diesel Connect, because he takes us out to go-kart racing once in a while. So we'll do that too. We'll shut down.
So that was your trick.
Sneaky. He was a ringer.
Yeah.
We took the team. We split it into 2 years. Took the team to SEMA and Apex last couple of years, and try to do stuff for the.
So
team.
how do you do something like that? I mean, that's a huge. Like, that's got to have a cost to it. How do you plan for that, or how do you absorb it? Tell me about that.
So I had kind of, with the whole SEMA thing, I had said to the guys, hey, if we hit this profit margin, I'll take you. So we hit a profit margin two years ago. And I'm like, I can't shut the shop down for a week. So I'm like, hey, I'll take half the team this year. And then I took the other half the following year.
So I think that's a good point. You set a benchmark and said, if we hit this, we're going to do this, is what you're saying. And I think that's really powerful. That's a really good tip, because I did that in my shop when I ran a shop, when I owned a shop. I never wanted to work the day after Thanksgiving, because my wife and family always had that off. And I always made my guys a deal. If we hit our goals in November, I will pay everybody that day off. They never missed the mark ever. In all the years I owned my shop, they always hit it, because they were working towards a goal and they were highly motivated to hit it. It's pretty amazing how that motivates people.
Yep, set goals for them. Yeah, and back to, like you said, about finding good techs. We've really put in a training. We've kind of built a whole training apprenticeship program, almost like training our own techs. I pay a good chunk of the percentage of their college tuition, and finding young kids out of high school. They'll usually work for me. I got two going to college right now that worked for me the last 2 years as they were juniors and seniors, and then I send them off to school and train them up.
Well, and I think this is just so critically important. Peter, you quipped before the show, shops don't have a hiring problem. Shops have a retention problem. And so just hearing about the tactics that you're deploying, the investments that you're making in alternating Fridays, taking folks to events, investing in training, even just the one-off kind of community building that you've got in the shop, all of that is make sure you've got people who are in seat, they're working hard, they're working towards a goal, and more effective for it.
Well, I think a very valid point that people need to understand. So many shops focus on funneling customers. They go out and hire outside salespeople. They do a lot of advertising, and that's to create a customer funnel. And shops put zero focus in labor funnel. You're doing that, and you're starting at the ground. All the shops out there are fighting over for those same handful of master techs or really good techs out there. And I think very few shops are missing the mark. They're really not focusing on that long-term investment in people. And that if I want really good techs tomorrow, I have to do it today. And it takes time. I don't think there really is a way around the 10,000 hour rule. I've grown a lot of techs from, a lube tire tech to master techs, and it took me 4 or 5 years to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a shortcut to that.
No, you gotta have mentors in place too, right? You gotta have the right people in place for that. For example, our auto foreman, he's a great mentor to the techs. He knows the stuff and they listen to him well. We got a great mentor in the heavy duty side too, as of late. So
have you embraced that? Because you've said two words now that have pretty much disappeared out of our vocabulary until recently, and that's apprentice and mentor. So do you have a formal mentor program? Have you actually documented that? And when you bring a new tech in, do you explain what the process is going to be in the shop?
Yeah, every single time. Yep.
Yeah, we actually took our shop foreman, and now we don't schedule any work for him. He oversees the trainees. So he's jumping between the young guys coming up, helping them out. And he'll still do some work, but he doesn't get scheduled. And that's he's the shop foreman / trainer, mentor for the young guys, and hopefully in a year or two, brings them up and we'll going to keep trying to funnel, as we grow, funnel new trainees in. So
I think that's something amazing too, because I really believe that's an opportunity for independent shops that they have to win over some of the big corporate shops. And that's that word mentor. You know, your big, massive corporate dealership networks really don't embrace the concept of mentor the way that the small mom and pop shops do. And I really think, you know, I ask a lot of shop owners questions when I go in and do evaluations, and I ask them bluntly, why would someone want to come work for you? And they very rarely have an answer to that. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's it right there. Sell that. So when a tech comes in and interviews, because a lot of shop owners don't realize in an interview, you're really not interviewing them. They're interviewing you. They have 4 or 5 other job offers.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you've got to figure out what makes you special and sell it. And sounds like that's one of the things that really stands apart for you guys is that mentorship.
Yeah, and I think as of late too, well, since Diesel Connect, we implemented EOS, right? And setting up our core values, and then really making that part of our daily routine. That's become really big for us too.
So EOS, did you self-implement that? I mean, tell me about that path, because that's a pretty powerful decision. That's a big commitment to go down EOS path.
You know, I kept on saying that for about 2 months before we actually started getting things rolling on it. I'm like, are we going to do this? If we're going to do this, we got to do this. There ain't no half in it, right? And we said, yeah, we're going to do this. And we actually, we did it all by ourselves, and we're still going on it. We're just getting into our level 10 part of it, but we first did our people analyzer on it, right? Putting people in the right seats, and we're still covering that part of it. But it's been a pretty good journey. We do our weekly meetings, and yeah.
Yeah, you'll discover a lot of things about yourself and your organization going down that path, because you'll find out that, believe it or not, those skill sets that you learned from EOS will spill into even your own personal life. It's amazing how that process changes people in organizations. Like talking about right seat, I actually, all of my managers, I gave them a toy bus and had to keep it on their desk, because we would talk about that, about having people in the right seat on the bus, and then talking about whether they were still on the bus or not. I used a whole analogy for it, but it's a pretty powerful tool, EOS is.
Yeah. And with the core values, you know, we got teamwork is in there as one of our core values, and positivity, right? So honesty and integrity.
So is excellence is the other one, but yeah.
And then commitment and dedication. So we have 5 core values on there, plus the GWC.
And yeah, we kind of went through, did the people analyzer and everybody to pick our leadership team that way too. And
So it sounds like that speech that Mike Patton gave at Diesel Connect must have hit with a lot of people. Because
that's where we started.
Right after Diesel Connect. Yep.
Yeah. Since there, I've actually talked to a lot of shop owners that really opened their eyes to that there is a way to run a business. It's not just, everybody doesn't just have to wing it. Like there's some structure you can put in place that'll help.
Yeah, and I was winging it for the last 15 years because I was a mechanic turned shop owner that really didn't know what I was doing for a lot of that. So.
Well, and every time I've done an assessment or a program like that with my teams, I end up finding somebody who surprises me, kind of the diamond in the rough. Did you find anybody at Klein that you said, oh, I didn't realize you were looking to do that, or you had that kind of skill set?
Yeah, I think we did for the team that we put together. It wasn't big surprises, but like the one guy that we got kind of leading the L10 meetings, he came out kind of a bit of
one stepped up.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, and you talked about a tool called the People Analyzer. Did that really help you kind of solidify roles and help them understand what you expected from them more?
It definitely helps you have those tough conversations, the difficult ones, right? So we actually use it in our review process, our annual review too. So we kind of modified it a little bit to do that. And then along with that, we have 5 people that matter for the People Analyzer. And it just allowed us to have those difficult conversations, right? The ones that we didn't really see, right? We got 37 people we got to look after, right? And we can't see it all. And then we got 3 different buildings too. So we need everybody's help on this, right? And then we could actually pick out problems that are going on and then help correct them.
Well, and then there's always a downside. And so I know you've had a couple of techs leave in the last few years, some of the guys who'd been with you from early on. How did you navigate techs leaving when they have to leave, even despite all the retention and the efforts that you do behind that.
Yeah, so I lost 3 techs in the 1 year. 2 of them were the ones that they were my 3rd and 4th employees. So when they started, I was wrenching full time. They were both in college at the time. So I kind of they learned a lot from me. We worked well together, but as the company grew, my role changed. The structure of the company changed. And yeah, they both left to pursue different careers. And the other one left, the 3rd one, he hadn't been there as long, but he left to start his own business. So we still have a good relationship with him too. But yeah, the company had changed. The structure had kind of got a little, had grown out, kind of grew too fast, but yeah, we didn't have any structure in place at the time. So since implementing EOS and him becoming general manager, one of them did come back, just started yesterday. So that was really nice. And yeah, it was just, like I said earlier, I never went to business school, and I let things go that I probably shouldn't have let go. So.
And I think that's something that's a valid point to point out with shop owners, and that's that you will evolve as your business grows. And sometimes, just like in your personal life, you can outgrow relationships, whether it be with vendors, whether it be with employees, and it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes they're better off moving on. Like you said, one started his own business and you still have a good relationship with them. I mean, when I had employees leave and do that, I was happy because I almost felt like a parent, and that person has evolved and moved on. And so I think it's something really powerful for shop owners to look at it that way versus it's a loss. It's not really a loss, it's a gain.
Well, but it can still be scary. Yeah, right? You got 2 of your best techs, and they're walking out the door, and you go, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do tomorrow?"
No, it was
even
tough.
if you think it's the right move in the mid to long term.
And at that point, we really didn't have our mentored training program, so it's not like I had any upcoming techs. So then we had to hire outside, which is hard.
Yep,
trying to find good techs, and you interview them. We had a few that you'd offer a job and they don't even show up. So it's like it was a tough couple of years. Yeah, getting the right people back in the right places. But
so I do have a question for you. You going down this EOS path, have you established KPIs for the employees? Like, do they have individual numbers that they need to hit weekly? How do you handle that with all these employees and all this going on? How are you tracking performance?
So Fullbay does help with that, right? So with the stats report, right?
yeah, employee stats report.
That helps out a lot. And then we also have a consultant that we use that he has a KPI laid out that we can put the numbers in there to help track them that way.
But how do you share that with the employee? I mean, are you giving them a list and say, this is what we expect from you weekly, or how does that work in your organization?
So we have a production
tech productivity report that gets updated every week and hung up so they can see the hours they sold. And then there's goals. Their pay scale is set up off that too. We do a hybrid system, so they get hourly and then a percent of production. So they have goals they have to hit for that. Depending on the goals they hit, there's 3 different tiers to it, is how they get paid. So they're all pretty in tune with what they need to, what the goals are for them.
And it's also set up into their annual review too that they get. It goes in there that they have to hit a certain percentage for production. So
you've laid it out what your expectations are. So it's not a surprise to them. I mean, do you find it as a surprise when you have to talk to a tech that's underperforming? Are they fully aware that they're underperforming normally because of the numbers?
Yeah, I think it's not a surprise by any means because the numbers are posted every 2 weeks on it.
And they a lot of them keep a pretty close eye on Fullbay on their tech stats home. So it's a lot of, they'll usually say something to me before I say something to them. Like, hey, I had a bad week this week and this is why. So
So they're aware.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. You talk to a lot of shop owners and like, I don't understand why my guys can't perform. And I'm like, do they know they're not performing? Well, yeah, they know. Well, show me. Show me that they know. And so many can't because they're not sharing the numbers. I think there's a lot of secrecy in this industry sometimes with shop owners. They're afraid to share numbers. It sounds like you're doing it publicly, like you're posting it for everybody to see. So you're not shy about if a tech has a bad day, everybody else knows it too, it looks like. Sounds like.
Yep. And we have a process. It's like the warranty acknowledgement, right? So if we ever have a warranty or something like that, and it's due to poor work, like from a tech, they have to sign off on it. They have to seek training on it. they know everything about it. So we do that for each one of them.
Well, and I've always found that putting the numbers out there starts engendering a little bit of competition as well. You want to make sure that's healthy, of course.
Yep.
But human beings are kind of naturally competitive animals. You put that dashboard up there and you go, oh, I'm third place this week. Peter, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, that was one of the cool things that honestly, when I started with Fullbay back in early 19, that we discovered, we didn't realize it did that. And it ranks the techs every day in their tech home. And they actually discovered it, and you would hear them talking about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they should show me, and I'm like, wow, these guys have figured this out already.
Oh, yeah?
Because they would compete with each other. It was more weekly than daily, but I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing that little bit of healthy competition really actually drove some things in the shop too.
Yeah.
There's some gloating going on.
That's good.
Yeah.
The right amount. And we've seen a couple shops that'll put the TV up and like live dashboard, and you're getting a cup of coffee, refilling water at the end of the day, whatever it is. You look up at that screen, oh, I'm slipping a little bit. That's very exciting.
How about customers? What are you doing to gain customers? I know we talked a little bit before this about advertising, but what's your philosophy on, not only getting little retail customers, but the big fish? Like, how are you getting in with fleets? Because it sounds like a lot of what you're doing is fleet work on the heavy duty.
Small fleets, but yeah, we were. The first 10 years, it was all word of mouth. People I knew, and they would refer other customers to me. That's kind of how we built it. A year ago, I hired a full-time customer service / salesman. So he does visits our current customers, but also goes out and tries to pick up new fleets and stuff. So he's doing that. And then, we did just website. My wife does social media marketing and stuff too, but with the truck side, it's more in person. You want to visit them.
I think that's a valid thing. I think so many shop owners talk about advertising, and I'm trying to get a big fleet, and I always have to remind them, you don't generally get big fleets by advertising on Google. You get big fleets with handshakes and boxes of donuts. And a lot of people are like, they're scared to walk into a shop that they don't know, or a fleet. And I'm like, I've never had anybody kick me out of the building when I bring donuts.
They'll hold the door for you, in fact. Well, and Peter, you've mentioned particularly with fleets, a lot they aren't searching Google, right?
No.
They've got their own list of authorized repair people. By the time they're going outside of network, they're on, they've gone down their top 4 already. They're looking for 5 and 6.
Yeah, that's true. When you get a call from a big fleet, and we even saw that when I interviewed Knight Swift at Diesel Connect, something's hit the fan. Like, you've had a polar vortex, which I know you guys have that up in your area like we did in Iowa, and it's not a normal day. But it's a good opportunity. Those are opportunities, and you have to train your staff to see that as an opportunity. When that phone rings and it's somebody from one of the top big fleets in the United States, you need to recognize that and see the opportunity there. Because you probably only get one chance.
Yeah. Right. And you don't get results right away. You might visit that fleet for 6 months, a year until, like you said, something hits the fan and they need help, and you've just been there and they're like, oh, let's try this guy out.
Well, and I think that's the thing about sales. A lot of people do that. They don't realize that sales is an investment and it takes time to build relationships. Nobody talks about that anymore, about building relationships and how you have to put a lot into it before you're going to get something out. I think when we landed Costco at the shop in Chicago that I ran, it was a 6-month process just to be vetted. And then it was almost it was like a year total before they would use us. It's a long time with these bigger. And the bigger the fleet, the slower they move.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we have some questions from the audience. You had mentioned that you do some online training for your techs. Do you know what that website was? What are you using?
So we use the Network Academy, right? Through
the Pronto network. And then we do, for the heavy duty stuff, some of our vendors put on classes, and then like Cummins has a lot of training on their website if you pay for it through Insight.
And a lot of our vendors, they'll, like the salesman will just stop by and say, oh, there's a class in a month. Here you go. Let you guys know. And Joe pays for it every single time.
And I think one thing too that I would tip for shop owners, 2 things. Number 1, ask for what you want. So ask for vendors. Like, a lot of shops don't realize that Stemco, for example, has an entire network of training. They will come into your shop and train you how to do wheel seals, which, by the way, when wheel seals fail, it's not a wheel seal problem. You didn't set the bearings right usually. But also for heavy duty training, I have a resource. It's HDA Truck Pride has a online university, and you have to join it and that. But that is another resource too. That's actually got a really cool lesson plan. You can go in there and build it for techs. You can assign a lube tech a lesson plan, and then they know exactly what you want them to go in there and do. An example, we used it in all of our stores that I managed, and we required everybody to have their air brake certification because it's a free thing through Bendix. You can get your air brake certification. So that's another tip too. You can just go to Bendix website and there's free online training there.
Yeah. And the other thing we do to encourage training, we have it set up that if they do 10 hours of training in a quarter, they get an extra $1 an hour. So it's kind of a motivation for them to look for the training themselves. I don't have time with that many employees to find training from all. So I'm like, hey, you find the training, whatever you think and if it's something I got to pay for, let me know. But they kind of, for the most part, they're finding their own training for what interests them.
So it sounds like you've got a culture where education and training is built into the core of your culture there, because you have a good training culture when technicians come to you and say, I want to go to this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to keep up with the industry. I mean, it's constantly changing.
Well, and then in the same vein, you've got now I think 3 different shops. You've got folks out in mobile repair trucks. You don't always always able to look over the desk and see what somebody is doing. How do you manage training and enablement, retention in a situation where folks might be remote, they might be out on the road, they might be in a different shop? Any tips for the audience on managing a more remote workforce when it comes to techs?
Just trying to get around and see them. We do monthly lunch meetings in each division, so you all get together once a month. Kind of go over how the previous month was, and we'll do lunch. So you do get kind of at least try and keep a relationship going there. And yeah, just stopping and trying to visit the shops and saying hi to them. The remote people, my service truck guys are usually at the shop every day too, in and out. But yeah.
And it's talking the talk, walking the walk, right? I mean, it's every day. It's communication with them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think we had a question come in from the audience that they were asking about that most of their techs were mobile. I think if people are trying to worry about their synergy in their organization with mobile techs, I think the most powerful thing I ever found is just ask them. Just ask your techs what they want and how things are going. And usually if you know your people, something's off. And I get that there's a lot of shops out there that are 100% mobile, like equipment shops and that. What I would do, I would just go get in the truck with them. I would ride with them for the day and try to build a connection that way. At least that's my advice for that question. How are you coming up with goals for each technician? Like, do you have different goals and numbers you do for different levels of techs? Like, I imagine that the master tech probably isn't trying to work on the same thing that the lube tech is from a goal standpoint. Do you sit down with them and set individual goals?
Really, only when we recognize a problem, right? Usually that's when you have to address it. But, and then, like, through the warranty acknowledgement sheet that we were talking about earlier, they had to go seek on training if they have a warranty on that issue, right? Even if it's like on a misdiagnose, right? Well, why did you misdiagnose it? What are we going to do? What kind of training we're going to do to help you out on this? If it's electrical or if it's drivetrain or anything like that, what kind of training we're going to seek out for it, and then I'll help them find a class if needed.
So it sounds like you've really built another part of your culture is accountability.
Yep.
It sounds like you're really focused on that, where they hold themselves accountable is what you're expecting, that they have to go and show that they've essentially re-educated themselves. Is that what you're?
Yeah. Now, if it's like a kind of a weak warranty, right? If it's like I don't know, you broke a bolt, whatever, right? You just go talk to the shop foreman at that point, review it with him. If there's any concerns that he has, because he's out there working with them, he can address them at that time too. Have that difficult conversation. Well, hey, man, you're always using your impact. You're never using your torque wrench, so stuff like that.
And yeah, and production goals, we do sit down. Like the trainees have a lower production goal, the lube techs than the ATEX. And that's something I sat down with them, and new employees too, when they start, I'll set a lower production goal and then we'll review it. Hey, this is where I'd like to see you in 90 days and get them up as they come up to speed. So,
Have you found an example where you realized you set a goal either way too low or way too high?
Sometimes you set them low. If they outperform the goal, that's great. I mean, we're going to review it again anyway. But
That's great. We'll raise the goalpost next time. No, I find that a lot. And again, really being able to measure what's happening on the ground, gives you that benchmark, right? If I look across a team and they're doing a certain level of production, that's a pretty good goal for the team.
Yep.
And then you find the 10% of folks that are exceeding that by some significant margin. You say, what are you doing right?
Yeah.
What can we teach the rest of the team? Is there training you've had that nobody else has? What can I do to start raising those goals a little bit, getting people to see, not only strive towards that overperformance, but see that it's possible and give them a path to get there.
Yep.
All right. So a reminder, we do have a Q&A button on the website as well. So we're coming up on the end of our session here, but please do submit any final questions. Peter, what else we got?
I believe that we've
gotten pretty much everything.
There's some random questions in here about software. What are you guys doing for running your accounting side of the business? I mean, do you have your own internal bookkeeper, or what are you using for accounting software?
Joe.
So you're doing that.
I do all the accounting. So that's
well, you really were serious when they said he wore too many hats.
Yep. So I do all the accounts payable, payroll, accounts receivable. I mean, I enjoyed being a mechanic. I never thought I'd enjoy being in the office, but I do enjoy working with numbers too. So that's kind of, I'd like to hire somebody someday to take that over, but right now it keeps me in the mix of how the business is doing too. Like,
yeah, it keeps your eye on the numbers. So are you using QuickBooks then?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, Fullbay exports into QuickBooks, really nice, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that gets overlooked by a lot of businesses, and that's the owners. They don't like numbers. So they're like, I'm just going to pass that off to somebody. And you ask them really pointed questions like, hey, what's your average RO? Or what's your average gross margin on a job, or your gross margin on parts? And they don't know. The owner doesn't know his own numbers because they're so disconnected from the books.
Yeah.
Like I think one of the very first things I do when I evaluate a business, when I work with them as a consultant, is I say, show me your cost of parts in your point of sale system or your shop operating system, and show me in QuickBooks. And they're like, why? And I'm like, we're going to do some deep dives here. I'm going to figure out if we have a problem with parts. And they almost never match. And there's a multitude of different reasons. But it's kind of eye-opening that when you start taking shop owners down this path of numbers, there's so many things they don't know. And a lot of them have just gotten lucky over the years that they had a gut feeling of what was really going on. But I also remind guys, that's really dangerous because you can't teach gut feeling. Like you've still been very involved in the business, but it's very hard as an owner to teach your employees your gut feeling. That's why it's so important that you have to have facts and manage with facts and not feelings.
Yeah.
Well, and that can be scary for smaller shops too, Peter. Right? If you're wrenching in a barn, if you're one or two guys in a truck, you may not know the ins and outs of all your numbers. And we see that a lot with our smaller shops coming through Fullbay as well. And that's okay. It can be a little bit scary to say, I don't know the answer to your question, Peter. But that allows you to start having the conversation, allows you to start digging in. Pick that first metric you're going to go after, whether it's tech efficiency, inventory turnover, whatever it might be. You don't need to have all the answers, but start working on something.
Yeah, you got to ask the right questions. I think everything starts in life with solving problems, whether it's diagnosing a check engine light or fixing your business. It's ask the right questions. And the other thing with that too is yes, a lot of shop owners will say, well, I'm just a little shop, that doesn't matter. But someday you want to be a big shop, and someday that will matter. And you really need to learn to be that person now and not wait, because I'm sure we all have instances in business where we've done things and we're like, we'll wait on that tomorrow. It's not important. And then that became very important very quickly. And then you realize that I probably should have paid attention to that number a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like receivables.
Yes. All right. Well, we are wrapping up here. A lot of great topics. Thank you both for being with us here today. We talked about marketing. We talked about niches, the importance of KPIs and metrics, knowing your business. And we spent a lot of time talking about people and retention. And that to me is the number one takeaway here today is you take care of your techs and they'll take care of you.
Yeah. People's what makes the business.
So in the spirit of that, Joe, if you could go back and talk to your 2007 self, opening that shop for the first time in the barn, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is, take care of your people and, keep in touch with them. Communication's big. I mean,
Absolutely.
There was times when I wasn't probably open enough with my guys on how the business was doing because I was like, I'll keep this close, and being open and communicating so they know what's going on.
Excellent. Well, and we've joked a couple times, but you were the race winner with us at Diesel Connect last year. I'd be remiss not to mention we've got 26 Diesel Connect early bird tickets left available. Are you going next year?
Signed
All
up,
right, come take his crown.
You can
we
try.
can't let him win 2 years ago. He's been practicing, so we're going to be in deep trouble, I think, next June. And then as we wrap up, I think we've got a quick video to end us out. And otherwise, thank everybody for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
This is my third year coming to Diesel Connect, and I wouldn't miss any one of these.
There's not a lot of other opportunities out there to meet and connect with other people in our field. We jumped in and we love it.
And you can't really do that stuff online. You have to be here.
I feel like I've learned so much in this last 3 days that I'm honestly having a hard time figuring out what we're going to implement first.
I got a lot of information on tech efficiencies.
Every single session we've been in, there's been some kind of little nugget or piece that we didn't think of before.
They're like, walkie-talkies, that's a good idea. And so then you go up to them and then all of a sudden you got like a link to Amazon. It's these little nuggets that make us all better.
We talk so much about tech efficiency and making sure they're doing things as the best that they can. If you want to come learn how to do that on the office side of things, you guys have had a lot of different breakout sessions on tech hiring and all kinds of stuff.
We did bring our shop foreman last year and he got great use out of it.
And next year, I want to bring my COO and my shop manager.
The interaction with the different owners, anywhere from a one-man operation all the way to multi-state, multi-location, how they're doing, how they approach it, what problems they're running into. We've become friends with them. We've visited their shops to understand how they do things.
I'm planning on coming again next year because I have yet to learn redundant information.
We went home totally fired up. It's helped our business for sure.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. Joe, Josh, Klein Mobile Repair out in Michigan. Appreciate you all joining us here today. And we will see everybody next quarter at the next Shop Owner Roundtable. Thank you much.